smoke as much as you like.
I'm already into the 420, damn it!
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is how much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
Oh, I was gonna say, come on, Al.
No, don't sing.
So,
oh no.
Al Graham is sitting in with us because it's Marcel's birthday and the poopy pant decided to go out instead.
Happy birthday, Marcel.
Oh, happy birthday, buddy. We are sitting here tonight with snow everywhere around me. You got snow out there, guys?
Nope.
No, we had a little bit fall last night, but it was all gone by the morning, eh?
We got a foot last night. Well, that's okay, 6 inches.
Yeah. How about you, Mary Jane?
Yeah, if it did snow last night, I was in bed way too early to see it. When I got up this morning, it was all gone. So
I noticed that. You've been sick all week, have you?
yeah, I don't know what's going on. It seems like my stomach's super active in the evening, and it just, I don't know, puts me in bed. Sleeping sometimes is the only way to make it stop.
I don't know who's worse, you or Al.
I don't know.
Yeah, we suffer from similar conditions.
Yeah,
so.
You guys are always competing with each other.
It's a competition. I don't think either one of us care to win.
I know.
No, exactly.
I know. So anyways,
be happy to lose.
We have a young lady here with us tonight who developed an app called Strain Print, and it's been in the media. It's been all over the place, and we're going to chat with her. Her name is Stephanie, and if you don't mind, is it Karasick? Is that close enough? Stephanie? I think we lost Stephanie.
Oh, did we lose Stephanie?
I think we lost Stephanie. Either that
Hi, can you hear me?
She's back.
Oh.
Okay, phew. I'm glad I got this technical thing sorted out.
That's fine.
My last name is Karasick. My name prior to Karasick is Wiener, so that's just unfortunate, but that's how it goes.
Well, I'm going to leave that one alone.
Exactly.
And welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on this blustery Friday night.
Well, hey, you got to do something on a Friday night, and this is what we do.
Is there any snow where you are?
Yeah, we got about 6 inches.
Where are you? Okay, where are you guys? Yeah. I'm in the GTA still,
yeah,
so I don't know relationally, but we had a dusting.
Yes, I saw pictures. My sister, I think, posted pictures.
That's what we got. Same dusting traveled through here.
It was more like the Colombians dropped their bags here.
Actually, yeah, maybe, because there was something on the ticker tape about 32 kilos tons being picked up. So maybe
in Toronto,
in Colombia itself, it was on the ticker tape. It was a big drug bust.
Huh.
Oh, there's always some exciting stuff going on in the world.
Isn't there? That's right.
Yeah.
Speaking of cocaine, did any one of you happen to watch Chef Gordon Ramsay's special that he did? It was a 2-part special on cooking with cocaine, and it basically took you through unprecedented access he had. It took you through the whole process, right into the jungle, and it showed what they put on the leaf and how they prepare it. They put cement, they put acid, I don't even care what they put. I'm not doing it.
I missed that one.
It was actually really
Yeah, I
good.
missed it too.
It was actually really good. I enjoyed the first one. Haven't seen the second one yet, though, unfortunately. So, what we're going to do tonight is, I don't know if Al has the app, but I know I do.
No, I don't, but I see it as available.
Mary Jane has it already, I believe.
The app is free to download on the App Store or Google Play, so there's no reason why you shouldn't have the app, I think.
I know I'll have it by the time this program is over, though.
That's pretty good.
I had it, and you know what? I had it when I was talking to Jessica. I was looking at it, and then I took it away because I like to do.
Okay, well that's good. I'm gonna start you guys off fresh. Whoever's listening gets to hear it from the start.
I like to do it on the fly, and I figured we'll sit here and play with the app while you talk about it. How's that? You also
sounds good to me.
You also have a backstory as to why you started doing this as well. We'll get to that as well.
I guess I do. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody who comes up with these little apps and gadgets and things like that have a backstory. I'll give you an example. We've all become friends with the people at the Shatterizer, and Val and Matt have come to this little gadget that we've got here now sitting in front of us because they're both dabbers and they needed a little device that they could use and carry and use wherever they want, so they came up with their own thing, right?
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, just like you have.
I have to say, yeah, I mean, I have to say, though, the fact that I'm even having this conversation with you guys is kind of surreal because it's so far from my world, my universe, like this whole cannabis thing. So that's, I guess, part of my story as well.
Well, why don't we start there, and that'll give Al a few minutes to download it. And
awesome. Okay, so by the way, are you on an Android or a Apple device?
Alan,
I'm on an Apple device.
Me as well.
Okay.
I think
then we can keep talking. No, I'm just kidding. They're all great. They're all amazing.
Mary Jane,
yeah. So just head over, type in Strain Print, STRAINPRINT, and you'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got her.
Okay, cool. All right, so here, I'll just give you the quick lowdown. Basically, 2014 was suggested to me to consider cannabis for a diagnosis that I had from a psychiatrist that was PTSD, which I was like, I thought that was just for like war vets. I didn't realize that I would have that diagnosis from a childhood trauma. And basically, I was constantly dealing with different meds throughout the course of my adult life. And I was like, okay, well, cannabis, I don't know. I've tried it recreationally in my 20s. I never quite liked smoking. So that was a bit of a problem for me. Because I liked cannabis, but I didn't like smoking. So it didn't really stick. So didn't use it at all for pretty much all of my 30s, because I had a couple kids. Which wasn't part of my lifestyle. And when this doctor brought it up as a consideration, I was like, sure, maybe, okay, I'll look into it. And then as I started doing a little bit of research, I was like, well, maybe it's worth a shot. I don't see a downside to trying it. And there's something new that I'd heard about called vaporizing, which I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yep.
This is now the spring, or around the spring of 2014. So it was, the program was the MMPR at the time. And I was able to get my prescription, which is not even a prescription, as we all know. It's very topical today. It was a medical document, is what we call it, from a doctor. And he said to me, okay, so I'm going to give you, I think it was a gram a day at the time, was the prescription. And I go, okay, gram a day of what? Now, I should also mention that my dad is a pharmacist, and I grew up in a pharmacy, and I grew up around prescriptions and understanding, when you take what for what. There's a science to medicine, and that sort of felt like that's what it should be if I'm going to get a doctor telling me what to do. So anyway, long story short, I basically was confused, and I didn't know where to start, and I found it very overwhelming. So he suggested I keep a little journal and I write some things down, just some notes. So just, note. And I started to do that. And it became very clear to me after maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, that there was such significant differences between one strain, another, how much I was taking, when I was taking, what I was doing when I was taking it. Like, there's so many factors. And I was like, if I didn't write this down, I would never know. I could never, A, repeat successful actions, or B, not repeat some bad experiences. So I was writing this stuff down. By the way, I can swear, right? If I do swear, it's not going to be bleep. Okay, good. Whew. I was writing this shit down, and I was...
Just kidding.
Feel free, yeah, just do something. I don't know, fart, something. But anyway, I was really clear that there had to be something more out there. Like, as I'm writing this and as I'm noticing like all these distinctions, and I was, every time I'd try a new strain and like I would just literally just shoot for it. I would just guess. I'm like, I don't know, this one sounds all right. And I'd give it a try. And
I think most people are like that nowadays. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I go into
totally.
the dispensary and I'm like, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, there's so much guesswork. But just thinking about the fact that this was 3.5 years ago, there was even that much less information out there.
Oh,
and
sure.
and even more of a stigma. And we all know that there still is a stigma, unfortunately. But so
big time.
Combine those two factors, and you really are like kind of in the closet about it. Yep. Like, you really are. It's a kind of a shameful, slightly dirty thing. The only people that support you are the chronic smokers, or the people who've been using pot for years, and they're like, "Yay, you're one of us now." And I'm like, "Well, no, it's not that. This is actually like I really want to figure out how to relieve my symptoms."
Yeah.
Well,
so okay, So that's why when I say I'm hanging out with you guys on a Friday night, like, I'm like, I don't even know, when you talk dabbing, I'm embarrassed to admit I don't even know what that is. I do know it exists. I just personally that's not how the form that I use to medicate, but so it is kind of an interesting world, an interesting kind of community that I found myself in, which is awesome, by the way. So anyway, long story short, again, I decided to show my doctor the notes that I'd been taking on the time that I went back for, I guess after 3 months or so. I think you have to go back for like a little check-in, and I showed him the notes, and he was like, "Whoa, you were serious about this shit?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm serious about this shit. Like, what the hell? Like, why wouldn't every single patient be serious about it? So that's kind of what got the wheels turning. And luckily, my husband has a software company, so they do things like they build websites and stuff like that. So I was able to basically beg him to pay one of his people, a programmer, to build me a prototype, and that's kind of how it started. Which is like a very where we are today. There's so many iterations have happened since then, but at least that was the genesis of the idea of doing what I was doing in my journal in a digital form.
And
go ahead,
you
Al.
turn around and make that information available to other patients, because there is so much. Yeah. So much out there. People saying what works for this, what works for that, and you've been able to collect that information from yourself and others.
Okay, so here's how it works in a fairly, hopefully simple to understand way. So basically, what it is at its core is it's an app for people. It's free for people to use, for patients to use. So they're going to get they go on the App Store, whatever, Google Play, they download it, they sign up, and then it's assumed by the time that you're using the app that you at least have somewhere to start. You've got something, I don't know, some product that you're going to track against, at least at the beginning. You don't have to. You can certainly go. We have a feature called Explore where you can see what other people with shared symptoms and conditions are using.
Ooh, I like
that is something I can talk more about later.
Okay.
But at least you get a start. Okay, so you get a start. The idea is that you use the app we recommend that you use it just when you medicate or just shortly after you medicate. So the idea being, we want to see for we want you to see how you feel before you take your medication, and then you input a very simple set of things. So you're going to put in what you're tracking against, so whether it be back pain or headache or depression or whatever it is that you're using the medication for. It's gonna ask you which strain you're using. So, and I'll tell you more about how that works, but those are all pre-populated in our database. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to ask you how bad, on a scale of 1 to 10, is that particular pain. So if it is, like, say, randomly a back pain and it's really bad, then you're going to put down, let's say, 8 or 9 on 10, whatever it is. You try and be honest about it. Mm-hmm. You put your device away, go on about your business, and it's set to notify you based on your method of consumption. So if you're smoking or vaping, it's 20 minutes. If you're eating, it's about an hour or 90 minutes. You can also change those settings, but it's going to notify you. It's going to basically tap you on your shoulder and say, hey, how are you feeling now? So now we're getting a real-time loop of information, of feedback. So if my back pain was really an 8 on 10, and then a half an hour I can say, you know what, it's kind of like a 4 or a 5, whatever that might be. Put that in there. And we also ask you for some emotive ratings. If it makes you feel relaxed, if it makes you feel, happy, dreamy, whatever those adjectives are, we have a bunch of them in there. And then you can write any additional notes. So that's what we consider a session, tracking a session. Once you have that now that all this information, I want to reiterate this a few times if it's possible, is medically encrypted, compliance. Everything is super anonymized. Okay, so we're not taking your information. We don't know your name and who you are and all this stuff that people should not be paranoid about that. This is all done in the most secure way possibly through medical protocols. So that's like the first thing I want to make sure people realize. So what we're doing is we're taking this anonymized database and we're able to look at, and I think it's okay if I say a few numbers. I don't think it's a problem if I admit right now we launched the app in the spring. So it's been about 7 or 8 months. Mm-hmm. We already have over 80,000 tracked sessions.
Wow.
So that is from people predominantly across the country, thousands of people across the country many of whom are under the ACMPR program, who are tracking against over 300 conditions and symptoms that we have that are being constantly by the minute. People are tracking these sessions. So what we have is this database that's starting to form where we can really look at what are people using with what success for their particular symptoms and what's working. Like you can start seeing like patterns. You can start seeing like little details that the great thing is we're going to be able to share this anonymous data and help educate lots and lots of people. And that's what excites the crap out of me. That's the part right there. So that the information that we are gathering, and that I'm so passionate about getting people on the platform, because we really, really want to be able to legitimize this as a therapy. We want to be able to let people know that there's no shame, there's no stigma. If this is working for you, here's why. Like we have proof in numbers. So that's the thing that we want to be able to get across. So I think, Al, originally you were asking, like, what do we do? So it's two things. So one is a person is using it to track their medication use, and it is used by recreational users as well, and I can get to that in a bit.
I was going to ask you about that, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, we do have rec users on it. We're considering ourselves medically focused, and we have to do that because for several reasons. Like we want the data that we're collecting to be considered medically valid and viable, and that's got to be there. That factor has got to be.
It's a known fact that anybody who uses cannabis in 2017 is using it for a reason. And they are all medical. We say it all the time. I totally
believe you, Al. Definitely, the more and more I'm exposed to all kinds of people, the more I realize that. That's something that I think the general
everybody
public
uses
realize.
it. I mean, even as a kid wanting to get stoned and go see a movie with my buddies, we're using it for a reason. I have ADHD. Cannabis centers me, makes me feel normal, whatever the fuck normal is.
100%. You know, that's a really. Can I just pause that for a sec? Because I really want to. I want to underscore something. A lot of times, like I thought this too, so I'm going to just come out and like admit this as well. Like when people use it, they're using it to get high or stoned or whatever terms you hear. I personally use it to get normal.
Yep.
And that is a very huge distinction. It wasn't until I personally experienced that I could understand that. So yeah, I totally agree with you. We use the term recreational because unfortunately that's just the system that we live in, where we have the rec users and we have the medical users.
Yeah,
and I don't like that there is that distinction, but we have these terms, so I'm kind of following along that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you've got people who have balls and people who don't. You know, I mean.
Well, here's the point I would make. There are, as far as I know, there are 300,000 patients in Canada right now.
I heard the last I heard was 240 something.
240 something. Okay, there was an article on the Globe and Mail today that I think said 300,000, but it's splitting hairs. We know that those are people that have legit medical documents, but we know that there's 10 times that in terms of people that are using it medically that just don't have a document. So that, and those are all people that we want to get using this app, because there's a couple things that happen when people start using the app. And this is what I do. Another thing I want to mention. So for the first part, you do get to learn, and over time, the more you put into the app, the more you're going to get out of it. So that you're going to learn what's working best for you, what dosage is best for you, what form. All those things are going to come clear because we have little algorithms built in that help sort of filter and sort all that information. But the other thing
that happens naturally. That happens naturally on its own, anyways. When you're in that process.
For sure it does, for sure. But this is the point that I was most surprised about, and I get lots of feedback from users on this one. They've never had accountability before, and the app gives them accountability. The app is like your companion, so it's basically like saying, I've had people that have been using cannabis for years and years and years, and have written in to me to say, I was using 5, 6, 7 grams a day, and now thanks to the app, I'm using half of that, and I feel just as good, if not better.
Yeah, it's called microdosing.
That's right, exactly. But who the general public doesn't stop to know these terms yet. We do, because it's a fairly small, relatively community of people that we use these terms and we banter them around. But we have to remember that of the millions and millions of Canadians out there that may use cannabis, they don't realize that there is an option called microdosing. And that's something that we're learning more and more about. Well, so anyway, that's kind of the longer-winded answer. Sorry, I was trying to be more brief, but hey, we do have 2 hours, right?
We got 2 hours to fill here.
Oh, Jesus. Why don't we start back in like 1971?
We've already gone. We're almost ready for our break. So, this is how fast it goes.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've got the app downloaded and already signed up.
Yeah, I've
that's cool.
Put in all my information already.
But I do have a question.
Uh-oh.
Please, I can hopefully answer.
Okay. Because I'm just setting up my stuff here, my information, and it gets to a point where it says select strain. What do you do if your strain isn't available on your selection?
All right. Okay, that's a fantastic question. Thank you for asking that. So currently, right now, in the database, we have over 3,000 strains listed. Most of them are strains that have been or are currently available under the Health Canada approved LPs. We do have some strains that are just listed generically under dispensary. Just so we have it out there for whoever's using the app. We don't really want them to have to struggle to find their product.
Can I ask just one quick question? Because
yeah, for sure.
Now I'm curious to know, and I'm sure everybody else is the app LP based, or are you including dispensaries as well?
Okay. So, great question. Here's the great thing about living in Canada. This is a very, very special country for many reasons. But the reason that we are most excited about it is that the Health Canada framework is such that the testing that is being done on the product allows us to track the data that we're getting is far more precise. If we're using data on medicine that we know how much THC is in there, how much CBD. We know in many cases we have the full terpene profiles available as well on the plant. And those are information pieces that are extremely important, as if you're a grower, you want to see what's working, what are some of the elements and all that. But in terms of actually tracking, we have it's not just the LP, the LP strains that are in there for several reasons. One, we do have users in the States as well, and we will be merging more into the States over the next year. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that people, some people might grow their own. They might want to track against their own. People make salads, right? They mix different strains. So in those cases, we have there's a little button somewhere on there. I'm not walking you through it now, but it just says can't find your strain. There's a little gray bar, and you just tap on that and you can add your own strain, and it's in there, and it doesn't become part of the global database, but it's part of your personal information that you can now track against. So you'll never have to worry about not having your strain in there. Now, sometimes there are people that, let's say they're customers of one of the LPs and they can't find their strains in. They'll send support an email or whoever, and they'll just say, well, can you just add this in? And usually within 20 minutes, it's added in.
I have a question.
We work fast. Yeah.
Okay.
Who that?
This is Sal Rapp. And my question is I'm going through, I already filled it out, but now I'm looking through conditions. I have diabetes and everything that goes with it. But I also have ADHD, and I don't see that listed here at all.
It should be. ADHD should be under conditions. It's not there. I'm going to have to open it up and go with you here.
Oh, nope, sorry, here it is. Yep. You spelt it out long words.
Okay. We, just so you know, we also worked with, we have a medical advisory board. We work with doctors when we developed the app.
Awesome.
And we made sure that we've got pretty much everyone covered. And if we don't, because there are some pretty rare conditions out there, then, by all means, we should find out about it and it gets added.
Well, here's what I I'm finding interesting, because I'm looking at this, and I'm not only learning stuff about strains, but I'm also learning about my afflictions, because you go into the condition, and then I shouldn't say affliction, I should say condition. You go into the conditions, and then you go through the whole thing, other symptoms, yada yada yada. And you know what? I'm finding something very interesting here. Okay, a lot of the same conditions apply for ADHD and ADD as do many neuro issues like diabetes. Yeah. And I find that very interesting for some strange reason. So
saying that you're seeing a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty crazy once you start drilling down into that stuff. What you can find, and that's just one of many things you'll probably even come across.
Okay, so now I'm at. I'm assuming you two are at the point where you're selecting your strains. Yeah, Al, Marianne?
Yeah.
Okay, so
again, if your strain isn't in there, so you can either tell it to me and I can add it in, or you can just add it on your own.
What I'm interested to know is, so these are strains that you have in your database. You say you have 3,000 some, and I've gone through the list and I've checked off my conditions and all that. So these are strains that are either at LPs or at another dispensary, but by the same token, it doesn't really matter where they are, because I'm more interested in knowing, okay, this strain will work for this condition and that strain will work for that condition, because I've been smoking pot a long time. I still call it pot. I still call myself a pothead. It's never going to stop. Sorry, people. But by the same line, I'm 53 years old. I've been smoking since I was 19 years old. I'm at the point where, yes, I like getting high. I like getting stoned. I also like feeling normal and not hurting. So if it's an addiction that you want to call it that I have, that's fine. You go ahead and do that. If that's what you need to label it as.
No one's labeling you here, but
no. I mean, but the stigma does label people. I've had conversations with people who will tell me flat out, "Well, you have an addiction to cannabis." Well, if I've got an addiction to cannabis, that's fine, because I'd rather be addicted to cannabis because of my ADHD than a Ritalin junkie. Because I grew up.
The evidence is it's harm reduction.
That's right. And I grew up from the age of 5 till I was 16 doing Ritalin and Dexedrine, very high doses, and now I'm a little fucked up because of it, unfortunately. So I use the cannabis to control my mood disorder, to control the ADHD, to control my raging, my pain that comes from all of that. And then you throw in diabetes. So it's nice to see where I can get all these things. Next question.
Here's the thing, and I hope this kind of answers your question, if it even is that. But we have so many different types of people using the app. So for some people, these I would just call you like a seasoned, experienced cannabis user, whatever you want to call. But we find that a very large number of our users are brand new to cannabis.
Yes.
They've never even.
And
these are people that honestly, they grew up thinking it was like reefer madness. Yep. Okay, so these are people who've had to make a sea change to get to the point. Things have gotten so bad in their pain life that they got to a place where like, damn it, I'm going to try this weed. That's what we hear over and over again. So we are seeing a lot of people like that are new, they're scared, they're very nervous, they have no idea like what's legal, what's not legal. So there's a lot of that kind of hand-holding that we try and offer for them as well. Like we have like I said, I've mentioned it before, but support is a big part of our software because, you might have a question. And quite frankly, I don't even want to admit this, but I have answered some questions like from this closet that I'm standing in right now at like midnight on a Saturday night, because someone's out there and they're in pain and they don't know, they just need someone. They just need someone. And so a lot of the people that are using the app, they know that they've signed up with their licensed producer, whoever that is. Let's, just pick one randomly, Tweed or whoever. Yep. And they go and they've been told to get some soft gels and some oil, and maybe the cannabis consultant at the clinic told them to try a CBD strain. So they have their little strains, and they go and they upload them, or they select them from our list. And this is the hand holding. Like, this is what we're doing. We're seeing people like just onboarding for the first time. So this is becoming like a little companion for them. Like they're doing it. It feels like they're not doing it so alone. And the other thing that we built into the app, and this is something that really, like, I have to remind people about this all the time, is that we've created, if you look in the profile section, or sorry, I want you to just go on the app for a second. I want to show you, there's a feature that says share or export your data. In the profile section, if you go into the profile section right now.
Profile section.
There you go.
I'm at conditions again.
If you go to profile, it doesn't matter. I'm just telling you, there's an option to export your data.
Okay.
And what that does is, once you've been tracking for a little while, I wouldn't say 2, 3, or 4 times, but maybe for a few weeks or whatever, you can export that data to your healthcare provider, your doctor, whoever, your nurse practitioner, whoever it is that you're checking in with, if you're a medical patient, that is. And they can see everything you've been doing. They can see your progress. Yeah. They can see how serious you're taking this medication.
I can see the app, the profile now. Actually, I went one step further. So go on.
There you go. Well, it's there. It's just a little thing that I wanted to mention, because really, like, and we worked on this with the doctor so we could make sure that we're giving clinicians information that is helpful to them, so that they can see their patient's progress and possibly even learn something that they can tell another patient. I mean, this is really all we're trying to do here. We're trying to build information, just a large, big, massive pool of information that we can then share and educate and help. That's what gets me going. That's what excites the crap out of me. So in your case, Al, like you're not new at this. This is a little different. And here's what I would say to you. So why would you track? Why would you bother to track like you don't need to do that. You've been smoking weed all your life. There's nothing. Okay. So a couple things. One is interesting to see what happens when you do start marking it down. You can see actually how much you are consuming if you're willing to be that mindful about it. Some people don't like to have to think about it. They just want to be a little bit more mindless about it. But that's cool. But so I mean, that's cool. But the other thing is that I realize, and I have thought about this long and hard. This is a behavioral thing. We're hoping that people will take the time to track their medications and take the time to be mindful about it. So what we've done was we built in a loyalty program, and that every time you do that thing where you track a session, we're giving you points. And we want people to get those points because people feel good when they get points. And what do you get for those points? Well, if you tap on that little point thing on the app,
I have
you can see
100
exactly
already.
what we're giving. We're giving away hats and grinders and vapes. Check it out. We're giving away vapes. We send them all across Canada and the States. Well, it's and now we're excited to be able to announce that we are working with some LPs, and we're giving away valuable coupons just by tracking your sessions. So
now, you're working.
Yeah, so you can.
You're working with LPs, but are you working with the quote-unquote illegal dispensaries as well? Because what you're trying to do, and the only reason I can see you wouldn't be doing this is a financial reason, but I see what you're trying to do is you're trying to make strain information available. There are lots of places on the web where you can go and do that.
This is very important, though.
But, yeah, and you're trying to make these conditions kind of partner up with different strains, and you've got suggestions from other people and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm leading to a question. Is there some kind of chat or conversational piece that will be added into this so that if I'm sitting here and I'm looking at strains and somebody else with my same conditions, hey man, what are you using this week? That kind of thing. Are we going to be able to do that down the road?
I will tell you this. Right now, what you see before you is an app. This is just the beginning. This is literally scratching the surface of what we are capable of doing and what we are going to be doing. We will be creating and launching, a web software, which will be like basically the app on steroids. So we'll have a lot more information in there. The Explore section, which you see, which has the top trending strains for those particular for your particular symptoms. Those are going to be there's just going to be a lot more elaborate. All the information that you're going to do on your phone, you're going to be able to do that tenfold on the website. I'm just
looking at that now. Yeah, at the Explore, you can
the Explore section. So that changes
down to
that changes as often as people are tracking against those various symptoms. So it's real time. Essentially, that's a real time report of what's trending for those particular. And so there are some like lesser common symptoms that might not have anything very useful at the moment. But as our database grows, it just gets bigger and more precise.
So the Explore, I've gone into the symptoms and I've checked anxiety, and then now I've got Infinity from Peace Naturals. I've got a vape pen. Marion Berry Kush from Alaire, and all different kinds. Now, these are suggestions that the app, I've got 3 suggestions here.
So they're not, I just want to stop you. They're not suggestions.
Okay.
Very careful we're not suggesting anything. What we're doing is that these are strains that people with anxiety currently are having the best efficacy with.
Okay. So, I used the wrong word, but yes, that's where I was going.
Gotcha.
So sorry, I just want to ask, does that mean that they are
Hi, Mary Jane.
Hi, I'm still here. So does that mean the top trending strains are constantly changing depending on users' usage?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's, not changing by the minute, but they are changing as often as new users are coming on board with those particular, and it goes by top efficacy, right? So if someone is having pain of 1, it goes down to a 1 or a 2 or whatever, then that's a very high efficacy. And those Those
It shows
experiences go to the top.
It shows an average efficiency rate, right? To see...
efficacy, that's right.
Okay, so what I'm seeing here is, and I noticed this because I've been playing with this for a few days, but like most of the strains are under 60% efficacy. So...
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it was 100%, would you believe it? That's the thing. You know, so we have to see if someone's rating it at they're paying it a 7 or 8, and they go down to I can't even do math, guys, I'm sorry. But if they go down to like a 4, what is that, a 50% efficacy rate? Something like that? Okay, go with me. Pretend that's what it is.
Okay.
So I'll talk to her.
Wait.
She's getting her calculator, I bet you.
You guys figure out the math. I'm just going to try and, get the point across, which is to say, hey, if you can take your pain down from an 8 to a 4, I'll try some of that for sure. It may not and we know that about cannabis. Cannabis is not a magic cure-all. It's not going to take you from a 10 to a 0. If it does, then that's a rare occasion, right? So really, we're looking for small but big successes with those kind of things. If you're able to get through your day better, if you're able to manage through your pain, whatever that number is for you is infinitely better than not having that relief, right?
And we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I just want to elaborate, because that's one of the issues I think that a lot of people are having. We always say in the community, whoever we are, I don't know, but it's very well known that different strains for different people. Okay, cannabis is very strain specific. I have ADHD. Something that is going to be really cool for you and trippy and yeah, man, let's go, might put me on the couch and make me feel depressed. Because for me, suffering from depression, I don't want to be on the couch. I don't want that couch lock. So it's nice to be able to hear from somebody else that says, hey, this is what I've tried for exactly what you got going on. And
exactly.
And, suggestions, database, whatever you want to call it, it all helps. Buddy gets a cool strain from Buddy down the road. Hey, man, try this. It's really cool. That's how you learn, right? If there's beers out there that I don't like, there's alcohol out there that I don't like, but I'm a Wiser's fan. Okay, I like Canadian. So there's different brands, strains, whatever you call it. It's going to become brands, not strains. But, what can you do? So let's take a break. I got a song loaded up from Jim Melvin, who is one of the guys from Royal Kush Band who does our theme song. And it's called 422, and I fucking missed it again. And I'll be right back with our guests. You like that one, don't you, Al?
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe you should put it on your show one day.
Maybe.
We'll be right back. Maybe you should put it on your show one day.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
I've got so many watches, timers on ovens, set just to get me to you. Wore out an 8-track of Elvis, shaking my pelvis. We were knocking them blue suede boots. When I opened up the wine, I forgot where the time went, and I drank till nothing was left. And now it's 422. I fucking missed it again. Don't get paid till tomorrow. I'm too proud to borrow. Tonight's a bust for me. Dispensaries all over this country, but I can't get no THC. Well, no package in the mail. This isn't going well. I'll get by with a little help from my friends. But now it's 422. I hit it. And now it's 4:22. And this time I'm twisted. And now it's 4:22. I didn't fucking miss it. It's 4:22. And my man, you just missed it.
I love that song. And that song came out of me saying, fuck, it's 4:22 and I missed it again. And somebody should write a song. So Jim wrote a song. We actually put it out there to try and get a few people. A couple of different rappers were going to do a rendition of it and stuff like that. But so far, Jim's the only one that came up with something. But I like it.
Well, it's because you missed it by a couple minutes doesn't mean that you still can't have it.
It's just a time. You can always turn your clock back.
Correct.
Yeah, I was told it's 4:20 until 4:30 anyway. So,
you know, when I was a kid, I had that the bars open at 5 o'clock. All fives. Yeah. And it was always set at 4:20 because the battery was always dead. So.
Yeah. I have a couple of those at home myself.
I will literally, if you invite me into your home and you have a clock on your wall that's not working, I will change it. I'm sorry. It's like a picture being crooked. I was at somebody's place and I walked by and there was a crooked picture and I went, just a sec.
I get, is that the real time?
Yeah.
And I'll say, yeah. It's always somewhere.
Yeah.
It's always, well, yeah. Hey.
Actually, I'm at Canada's here at Wayne's store, and he's got a clock that every hour on the clock it says 4:20.
Did Wayne stay open for you again, Al?
No. I just arrived here, and he was going to run a little bit late, so I just
sat down.
Sat here and kept showering company.
So you know, Stephanie, Al does his show from the front window of Canada's, which is in Campbellford, Ontario. So if
very cool.
If you're ever in Campbellford on a Wednesday evening after 8 o'clock, slide into Canada's. It's right at the four corners of just at the bridge there. So
we are the home of the toonie. We have a giant toonie in our downtown. It's like
really
5 feet tall.
So
chocolate factories too.
Yeah, I got to go to the chocolate factory next time in there, Al. You never took me to the chocolate factory.
Yeah, I know. Next time.
Yeah. So off air, we were talking about some things like why doesn't it do this and why does it do that? So Mary Jane had a very pertinent question, and I wanted to continue the conversation. So Mary Jane, why don't you start that conversation again, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So I asked, I was looking online, under insomnia, for example, it has the strain White Widow. Now, for somebody like myself, I don't like to purchase LP products. I'd rather get my own medicine. So, for me to grow it at home, how would I know that this strain of White Widow would be similar to the strain that the LP suggesting to use?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's a great point, and that sort of ties back to what I was saying earlier, which was that we have about 30 to 40%. I don't know the exact number right now, but of the strains that are in there, we have full cannabinoid and terpene profiles for those strains. That is basically dependent on what the licensed provider, or rather the licensed producer, is doing, is listing. So how transparent are they? Well, if they are providing that information, we're gathering that information. So to answer your question about that particular strain, if it's from, I think it's from, you said Peace Naturals. I don't believe we have terpene profiles on them.
That one was Canada's Island Garden.
Canada's Island Garden. We do not have terpene profiles from them. I wish patients of theirs would say, listen, this is information we'd like to get, because it is only through getting that information that we're able to share the findings. And it's not specifically...
that was my next That was my next question. Is I thought it was like if I called the licensed producer in which I purchased my medication from, could I not say, well, Health Canada says you have to provide this information? Is that not true? As far as I know now, I could be wrong. I don't work for an LP, and I'm not sure what the rules are. If there are any listeners out there that can clarify this, I don't believe that is a Health Canada guideline. They have to test it, so they have to pass inspection and testing, which is why a lot of the product has to get gamma irradiated as well. That said, okay, we could talk about that, but that's a separate thing. But all that to say, they don't have to give anything. They have proprietary strains that if they want to create, they call it like their own whatever. It might be Jack Herrera, but it's their special Jack Herrera, and they don't want to divulge their trade secrets. They can be that way if they want to, but it's not for the betterment of us all, put it that way. The more information we can gather, the more we can share, the more we can learn. That's how it goes. Yeah. It would definitely be nice to see terpene levels and stuff. I agree with you. I agree with you completely. Like that is, we know, and that's just a separate conversation as well, but we know we're learning so much now about terpenes from the ones that we are collecting, from the strains that we are collecting, and from the sessions that people are putting in with those terpenes. We're able to determine things like strains high in myrcene are being used very successfully for people with pains. Strains high in limonene are helping people with migraines. Like, we're learning these things because the evidence keeps coming through. So, that's something that we take very seriously. We as much information as we can get, we want to be able to share. Yeah. So, the more we can get from Health Canada approved producers, the better. So we need people to be advocates and to say, listen, we need to know this stuff. We want to know. Let's say I suffer from something, and if I found out that certain strains cause me to be a little jumpy, to your point, Al, like some, right? Some strains have if they're super high in for me, actually, limonene does tend to make me a little bit edgy. So if it does that, I might stay away from that. Certainly in the evening, if I want to be winding down, I don't want to have a strain that's high in limonene. I want to have a strain that's higher in myrcene or in caryophyllene. Those are things that we're learning. I didn't even know these words a few years ago. Like, this is all new to me, but we're learning so fast that we have to just take what we're learning. It's getting better all the time. The information that I would love to be able to basically, Mary Jane, to your point, you can tap on that White Widow and get a full profile of what's in that strain. We're on that path. We're going there. We're just not there 100% yet.
Can you put notes in as well, your own notes that other people will see? Because there are
so you can put in notes for yourself.
Yeah, but
those
not
are just
where other people can see.
Notes. Yeah, those aren't for other people to see.
My only reason I'm bringing that up, you see, because we're talking strains here now. There are strains that I can't use. I can't use a G13; it'll put me into a panic attack. A White Widow, anything with White Widow or any kind of widow in it, I don't use because it makes we call it angry weed around here. It makes Al a very angry person when he smokes the White Widow. If I'm alone and I want to just chill out and buzz out, listen to tunes, play video games or whatever, then I can get away with it. But if I'm in a family setting or a group setting and somebody hands me a White Widow, I'm going to go, no thank you. Because it will make me, and you will see, I don't know if Al's ever, have you ever seen me smoking a White Widow or heard me smoking a White Widow, Al?
What about, would it be more specific towards the strains, whether it's more of a sativa or an indica?
No, because you see, no.
It's just specific to White Widow.
It's specific to White Widow or a widow.
Well, so what it is that we're learning, for one thing we're learning is that sativa and indica doesn't really mean all that much.
No, because
it's the full terpene and cannabinoid
That's
profile.
Right, because
you
can get the same effects from a sativa as you do from a heavy indica. And vice versa. You can get a sativa. Sativas are usually known for picking you up and keeping you going, right? But you can usually get I mean, there are some sativas that will mimic an indica, and they'll put me on the couch, and I'm just like, yeah, buddy, let's go racing. You know,
and that's precisely why we want to get as much information on that particular strain as possible. Because why is this? If it's reported to be a sativa, why is it sedating me? Probably because it's got some myrcene and linalool in there, right? High levels of those particular terpenes. Those are known to be sedating terpenes. Yeah. So again, and the other thing that we're learning is high THC and too much can have adverse effects.
Yeah.
So again, another check mark in the microdosing department is to say, and through using the app, a lot of people are learning this. Sometimes you only need like half of what you think you're going to need.
Yes, that's
like in my case,
exactly
if I'm vaporizing, it could just be 2 puffs, and then I'm good for a couple of hours. It sounds crazy because I'm like, well, but that is all I need. And so the more we learn about these particular chemical compositions of these strains, the more we can help each other determine what will work best for them, and then not send them down this wild goose chase. It's a very daunting process. Like I just underscore that you guys are very, very familiar with all different types of cannabis and all forms of it and all strains and different methods of consumption and all that stuff. And we are really embarking on a very special time in our country. I don't mind segueing to say this, but we are kind of pioneers for generations to come, so that we can now be able to learn so much more about this incredible plant and to be able to acquire this information from masses of people, right? Currently, right now, we're the largest longitudinal study on cannabis in the world because of what we're doing. The fact that we're in Canada is what's allowing us to do this properly. And
you get a whole country to look at as opposed to just a state.
That's correct. It's very, very different, as you guys know, in the States. So we're very lucky to be living in this country, regardless of all the shenanigans that are going on. With
I love that
taxes
word.
And medical and recreational. We have a pretty impressive road ahead of us in terms of the paving that's going on right now, and we feel, certainly myself and my partners feel very excited about the possibility of being able to acquire this incredible knowledge and sharing it with masses of people, and that's really what keeps us going.
I have I used to do, one of my co-hosts used to be Jess, who is Chris Ann's wife. And I'm sure we'll talk about Chris later on in the show because he's in a bit of another pickle. But because Jess and Chris have pharmacists out east, Jess kind of introduced me to the oils and caps and concentrates. And the first time I started using it, I put myself in the hospital, going back to, overusing. I put myself in the hospital. I had that hypernesis crap that happened. I got very
that's no good.
I got very panicky. I thought I was having a heart attack. That's why I went in. I couldn't stop anything from slowing. I was just, I went to the hospital, and it was a full-blown panic attack triggered by overusing. I overdosed myself. I mean, I'm not going to kill myself, but I know you can overdose yourself. So that was my first learning experience with, wait a minute. I mean, I think everybody who uses cannabis has greened themselves out at one point or another. I know that when you start your journey, when you start on the medical side of it, you've got to get your levels up to the point where you're not a fucking roller coaster. And you've got to have a steady level. Otherwise, because your body just goes, wait a minute, when you stop, you got all this smoke and you're using all this cannabis and you're doing good for a couple of minutes and then you run out and you've got nothing and your body goes, wait a minute, because your body has stopped manufacturing the CBDs on their own. It stops. It cuts it back, and it says, okay, well, I don't have to do so much then because you're already introducing it, and it regulates you. But the minute you stop or run out, which is what happens to a lot of people, I would say the majority of people, Al?
Yeah, that happens to people.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to me all the time. I don't have a steady source. I have when I have. So when I don't have, oh boy, my body goes, wait a minute. But if you know that roller coaster is going to happen, then you learn from that. Now I'm more apt to, I usually have a doobie in my hand, okay? Or the vaporizer's going. It's a 24-hour thing when you're dealing with depression, anxiety, pain, diabetes, blah, 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 blah. Okay? It's not just I'm coming home from work and I want to sit down and get high and watch a movie. It's a 24/7 thing, right? And I know that it worries a lot of people. My friends are totally worried about getting pulled over now by the police. You know, there's ride checks everywhere now. But
I mean that's a whole other kettle of fish, Al.
That's right.
We're
it
talking
is
about, like, you know, I can imagine the people that are driving around on opiates and on all kinds of crazy medicines that have no business being on the road, you know, and people that are literally just taking CBD capsules during the day,
or smoking a CBD pen. But you know, the CBD pens, the CBD caps, the CBD oils, the squirters, the sprays, everything. I love making tinctures. I don't have access to high CBD stuff, or I would be making it. I will make the THC stuff because that's what I have available. But CBD for me centers me. I'm using right now, I have something from Kells, who is a Patients Helping Patients dispensary out in Saskatoon. Is it, Al? Is that where Kelly is? I think it is.
I believe so. Yeah.
So I've got here a 1-to-1 tincture that she makes, and it's 15 milligrams of each CBD and THC. Now, I'm pretty certain that it's made from bud, but I don't know. But where you're getting into trouble now with the CBD stuff is we're seeing a lot of articles. There's a big difference between a high CBD strain that you make oil out of to give you more CBD and using hemp. Hemp is all CBD, right, Al? He's going to take a second to turn his mic on now.
I got to turn my mic on, man. I mean, but I've moved now. I moved from the store. I'm now at home, so I'm in a quiet room now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I'm wrong, please.
You're not going to get. You're not going to get any THC in your hemp.
Well, but the CBD that people are using to make all these CBD pens and oils and sprays and stuff, it is helping people, but it's not helping people as a high CBD strain would help, because you're getting the bud versus the stem and the leaf and the stalk, right? From the hemp.
Yeah.
So it's more green. A lot of people can't deal with the green.
Oh, the green. Yeah,
the green.
I didn't like it either.
The chlorophyll.
Yeah. Now I see here on the app that there are some strains on there that got some pretty good CBD levels.
Yes, I was.
Well, this is again the stuff that you're looking at predominantly is from the Health Canada, so the licensed producers. So that I want to say that again, like, that's the stuff that the data that we're acquiring based on those strains is the data that's going to become the most helpful in terms of teaching, guiding, whatever.
Like you mentioned earlier, it's what they were providing you with.
There are some strains on there. I've seen CBD strains in flower form as high as, I think, 18% even, possibly, CBD, and very little trace amounts of THC. So it's incredible what they're able to produce. I wish that some of these gray market producers were able to share lab tests with us. I mean, again, That's all we're looking for. Is we're looking for lab tested stuff that we can have people track against.
If I'm sitting here and I've got a strain that's really working for me and I enter that in, does it go into your database, or is it only LPs that you can get data from?
No. So there's a couple of different tiers of the database. The data from the LP strains are sort of top tier, and then the data that is being tracked against just generic strain names. Like we've just got in, things like blueberry or like White Widow or any of these common street strain names are in there. So, or you can add them in, but the how do we say this? The data is in a second tier of value in terms of what we're collecting, because we just don't know what's in them. It's fine. I get that you have MS, let's say, and you're using a particular concoction of your own, but it's not. We're not able to sort of necessarily share that information with the masses.
Will that change? Because I think that would be a really good thing to do. Not necessarily stuff that I've come up with on my own, but strains specifically. I go to we'll say 2.5 different 2.5 dispensaries, we'll say. One's closed now.
Okay.
One's closed now.
But the thing is, the names don't really mean all that much.
Well,
that's the thing. We want to.
That's what I was getting at. I mean, I walk in and I see all these strains, and unless I know a Jack Herrera, a G13, a Purple Kush, unless I know the strain and I've tried the strain, I usually walk into the dispensary and go, "What do you suggest?" Because they know, they see what their customers are buying. They hear their comments when I tried the Purple Kush last week. It was fucking bang on, man. If an app like this had that kind of input from the patients and people who are using it, as opposed to what the LPs are telling you is in it, I think it might be a good option to have. That's just my own
so you're saying this is sort of two different things. One is anecdotally, there are always places you can go check out, like reviews. There are other places you can go where you can just go and look at people who want to take the time and write reviews, and whether they be LP strains or not. There's different websites for different purposes that you can garner that information. Yep. But for the sake of what we're doing, which is literally just collecting data, which is it's kind of dry at the very core. Yep. We need numbers. We need numbers to test against. We need validity. We need more than just names. We need much information.
And right now, the
LPs
are the only ones that are providing that.
That's bang on. Okay, so but there are dispensaries, and I can't speak for them because I don't know and I don't purchase from them. But there are dispensaries that claim to do their own testing. There are some, as far as I know, online dispensaries that do show lab reports, and that's great. That's a step in the right direction for sure. We encourage whoever is doing these things to be able to be. I said the word a few times, transparent about it. Let's just tell us what's in the medicine. And then we can make informed decisions.
Isn't there something to do with the labs aren't supposed to be testing product unless it's that patient's product? So, for example,
I think anything can get tested. As far if you want to spend money at a lab, they'll take your money. Believe me.
No one refuses money. I'm just going through some of these strains here. You guys are talking about high numbers and all that. CBD of a pen, 34%.
Wow.
Okay, well, those are just guides. I want to just say, for anybody that may be listening, there are a bunch of vape pens in there that we have, mostly because users have asked us to put it in, not because we are specifically endorsing any of this. This is what people are using. So there are companies that sell it. The only information we can include on that is information that they have on their website. So again, we're we have to take everything with a grain of salt. Like what is
LP's information versus this provider's information. Correct. Yeah.
And we have. Listen. I know there's going to be over the next year or so. There are going to be some phenomenal products available.
Oh, yeah.
Suppositories coming
There
out,
already
the
is.
sprays, the sublingual mists, like things that are going to be helping so many people, like first line therapy instead of a last resort.
The unfortunate part of all that, though, is the products that are actually helping people and working for people the best are coming from people's kitchens.
Oh,
not companies.
I'm sure that's true. In fact, there are a lot of people that take their already vaped product and they bake cookies out of it or whatever.
I have a magic butter machine. So does Al. Yeah, I mean,
there are people that have phenomenal recipes that they're sharing. And I do want to touch upon something else. I mean, when I got into this 3.5 years ago when I was a new patient, it was pretty lonely. Like, there wasn't a lot of people to talk to about this. Now, I've gotten involved, thankfully, through Strain Print, but maybe if I hadn't been doing this, I would have stumbled upon these communities regardless, and hopefully I would have. But there are some amazing people that are on Facebook groups that are they're so helpful. Like, you want to ask questions, and there's always a friendly person.
Not always, and a lot of times, and then we're going to take a break. A lot of times, what's happening, I find, anyways. I mean, I'm sitting in front of my computer from about 5 o'clock in the morning on. Okay, so I've been doing this for 30 years, sitting here watching what goes on the internet, basically, and and you notice patterns. And what I notice right now is a lot of very well-meaned people who are trying to help people see an opportunity to go out there and make a lot of money very quickly. And in a lot of cases, what's happening now is people are jumping into the game before they get shut down because they're going to.
Yeah.
And that's in the case
I mean, there's all kinds of people there. People like you say there. I know you got to go to a break, but
right.
I mean, you're going to find, like any industry, everyone's trying to get involved in.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you have to find the good humans. That's all you gotta do.
Unfortunately, those good humans sometimes succumb to greed. And there are other people out there that are just for the fact they're not putting out any genuine product or information. They're going after a gimmick. They're telling people right now it's the CBD. Okay, I'm just going to put this out there. If you need a CBD strain, get a CBD strain and make your own concentrates, make your own oils, whatever yourself, because yes, go into the Big B and buy yourself a CBD strain pen for $12 off over the counter in the convenience store. You're going to go home to a hemp CBD that is not going to do what it's supposed to do for you. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak to that. I don't know from those products. I only know from the ones that I've tried.
It has its uses, but they're marketing it. And my whole point is they're marketing this whole CBD thing because the the THC is illegal, but nobody said CBD is illegal. You can't do that, even though it is.
It is.
Okay,
it is. It
but
is illegal,
companies are getting away with putting CBD labeled pens in the stores, selling them as CBD pens with CBD cannabinoids in them, but they are from from the hemp plant.
Buyer beware.
Yeah, and that's where I was going.
I would just say, think about if you want to take your risk and buy that, fine, go ahead. But that's just a choice that you make, and
that's right.
You get what you get.
That's my real point was, at this point in time, I would rather go to a friend who I knows makes her or his own medicine, knows it works for them.
And there are a lot of people out there.
And there are
a lot of people out there.
But I would rather go that route. I would if I was diagnosed with cancer tomorrow, you can bet your bottom fucking dollar I would not be going to a licensed producer to get my oil. I'm sorry, not trying to dump on anybody. Okay, we have
there's
people
all
from
kinds of opinions.
We have people from LPs on the shows, on our shows now and then. Matt Murdoch comes on the show. I'm not trying to dump on anybody about anything, but that's just the fact of the matter. that I would not trust an LP's concentrates for Adam if I was that sick. And people are.
There's a lot of people out there.
They are. They have a choice.
I will offer you this, though. If you go on the app and you do start like exploring with it and checking it out, you'll be pretty surprised what people are finding a lot of success with. These are products that you may not have considered, because if you're not really interested in purchasing your medicine through the LPs, then you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that are getting benefit from products that you would be surprised about.
There are.
And we see this every day.
There are.
We see this, and we get, it's incredible, like watching the results come in, basically.
Yeah, but the results are being fudged, as we're finding.
You think so?
I think so. Well, I mean, look, you've got LPs. You've got LPs hiding poison in their fucking in their ceilings.
Yeah, but that's got nothing to do with strain principle.
It doesn't. But what it does have to do with is greed. Is where I'm going.
It's got nothing to do with strain.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with strain point. It's got to do with greed.
And then you got to hit some kush.
So what?
I don't know.
I don't have any kush.
I think what Al is trying to say, I know myself, I prefer to make my own cookies. Now, I'm not even talking about edibles or medibles. I'm talking about just regular cookies to feed my family, rather than going to the store and buying a box, because I know.
Yeah, I get that.
Right? So I think that's kind of what he's getting at with the concentrates. At least then like Marcel, if he was here, he'd be saying, oh yeah, man, he'd be right on this, because it's all this how they're making it, right?
The market is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, as we all know, in the next years. So all these products are just going to become more readily available. We just want to have the starting place. We want to have people who are getting started with it really don't know any of this stuff. They don't know any. They didn't even know that baking is an option.
And that is what I was trying to get. That's what we need. We need some non-bullshit about strains and what they work for. You can, like you said, you can read reviews all over the internet. You want a review? Here, I'll give you a review right now of what I'm smoking. But the point is that review doesn't mean anything if it doesn't have any data.
Well, so that's a good full circle comment. So we really are not affiliated specifically with. We have to be agnostic. We're not affiliated with LPs or dispensaries specifically. We can work with them as partners in that they can use our app for various purposes. They purchase our data, and that's how we learn.
And I think that's what I was trying to drag out of you.
Yeah, no. I've talked about wanting to be open, and you can ask me anything. I'm telling you, this is what we're trying to do.
What shoe size do you wear?
What's a what?
What shoe size do you wear?
What shoe size? I don't know. 7.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
All right, I think it's a great time. We need to compose ourselves here.
We need to go
need a break.
We need to go for that break you mentioned there 10 minutes ago.
That was 19 minutes ago, Al. We'll be right back.
Crazy. I don't know where you find this music. These crazy.
We're going to listen to some Maccabee. I'm just trying to pull the thingy here. It's the Marijuana Card song. And it's a reggae song, so I think we'll all like it. And if you don't, well, go get a snack or roll another doobie. We'll be right back. This is the 420 Radio Show. We're live at lifestyleradio.net and 420radio.ca. We'll be right back. We're live at lifestyleradio.net and 420radio.ca.
Following is a public service announcement from the Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society. The Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners Society is a non-profit organization dedicated to ensuring improved access to therapeutic cannabis and cannabis byproducts in Canada. With a federal government that has committed to legalizing cannabis, we feel it is our duty to ensure that the medicinal use of cannabis doesn't get lost in the process, and that there are clear distinctions made between the medicinal and recreational use of cannabis. It is our mission to ensure that government regulation doesn't get in the way of a sick, disabled or terminally ill person's right to use or produce this amazing natural health product. If you would like to get involved, you can contact us on the internet www.canadiantherapeuticCannabisPartners.com, on Facebook, CTCP Society, or search Canadian Therapeutic Cannabis Partners.
Hang up and try again.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
Like a super high level of caryophyllene in it, then I go, oh, okay, this is I get why this strain works for me. I get it.
And that would explain why it does work for me as well, that same information. Right?
Right.
Yeah, I wanted
you know what? I'm
another...
going to cut you all off for a minute because for some reason the song didn't play, and we're back.
We're back.
J'ai un
been to Canada's yet? Canada's, Campbellford's premier cannabis culture shop at 19 Bridge Street West. They've got bongs, oil rigs, grinders, and papers. Everything you need for consumption. They've got seeds, soil, nutrients, and dome trays too. Everything you need for cultivation. Get top quality seeds from top suppliers like Canuck, Crop King, and wholesaler Nexus. Canada's. They've got all kinds of awesome cannabis novelties, clothing, and apparel. I know, right? It's a lot more than just a bong shop. Interested in gaining legal access? Canada's can help. They're a PACE information center. You know, people advocating cannabis education. Come by the shop and check it out. 19 Bridge Street West, Campbellford. Canada's. Have your say without saying a word. Canada's.ca.
So what are you doing? Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
And we are back. And before I go anywhere further, I just want to say congratulations to our Mary Jane. Yep. Because we can talk about it. We didn't talk about it last week. You wouldn't let me.
You can talk about it this week now. Now that the cat's out of the bag.
So we, our very own Mary Jane is a Sunshine Girl. So if you want to look in Sunday's paper last week, you'll find out who she is and what she likes and what her favorite color is. Do they still put
my real name.
Do they put those stats still? And she likes rollerblading and walking down the moonlight path.
If you look online, if you go online, you get more than one picture.
Well, hell, I'm going to go there now. Okay, so we are talking with Stephanie about her app, Strain Print, and I'm on the website at strainprint.ca. Now, are you guys, being a Canadian company, are you going to take this down into the States and start working with their dispensaries, their whoever's?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's exactly where we're going to go. We are very lucky, as I said, that we do have a great framework to build upon here in Canada. The challenge with the States, as you guys probably know, is that it's not a federal program, so every state has a different set of rules and regulations, and we have to work very carefully to enter those particular states properly. So we'll be doing that, in the coming new year. But yeah, I mean, we want to be able to share this information with as many different populations as possible. And so if it means going into California or Nevada or Colorado, those are places that we definitely want to get. We want to get into the hands of those patients and users as well.
Yeah, and even over, like, you see more countries over in Europe who are also legalizing the medical use of it as well.
Yeah.
So, but the one.
Yeah, I mean, we're in English so far. We're sticking in the one language so far, but who knows what tomorrow will bring.
The one good thing about this day and age in 2017 is we have the internet, and we have apps. And a lot of people like Marcel, you see, I think one of the reasons Marcel didn't come in today, other than his birthday, was because he doesn't like apps. He hates apps, and he'll tell you that.
What are you going to do?
I don't want any. If it's an app, fuck it. I'll get a pad of paper. I'll make my own stats.
And some people want, and great. Some people do that. If you are disciplined enough to do that, then that's great.
Yeah.
But for those of us that maybe aren't,
that's right,
or need a little nudge or a little companion or a little friend or whatever you want to call it, that's where we shine.
So, we were talking once again on the break, and they were into a conversation, and I wanted to let them, if they remember what it was, continue, because I don't.
Well, I can just sort of give an overview of what that was. The conversation was about, I believe it was Mary Jane that was saying, if you, it's sort of not maybe well known at this point, but if you end up going with getting your medical document and going with an LP, the fear is that you get stuck with that one LP as your source of medicine for however many months you are stuck with that prescription. It's not actually the case, and I just wanted to make sure that people out there who are considering going this route knows that you can split your prescription as many ways as your clinic or your doctor will do. It's just paperwork, really.
Yeah, I just dealt with a patient in the last week that they showed me their paperwork, and yeah, they had a product from 2 different LPs.
Yeah, you can split it as many ways as you want. I mean, the truth is there are minimums, I guess, so you have to have a certain amount per day. Otherwise, they won't be able to fill your prescription because usually they come in 5 gram minimum quantity. Some are higher, but 5 gram minimum quantity. So you have to have a certain daily allocation. But yeah, you can split it as many ways as you want, and you can also change it. So if you're not happy with the medicine that you are having access to, then by all means, you should contact your clinic or your doctor and switch that over to someone that may have medicine that's better for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ins and outs in the medical program. I'm not necessarily the best advocate for it. Like, I don't really know all the rules, but I can just tell you from my own experience.
Yes, yeah. And you're dealing with you're dealing and talking with other patients, and you get some feedback from them, and people sharing information.
Yeah, I mean that's like I was talking earlier about some of these communities that have formed through Facebook. There's some fantastic people out there. There's a group that I belong to called She Can, which is a group of, I don't even know what their numbers are. There's probably like 600 plus people on there, predominantly women, but some men. And everybody there wants to help everybody else. Like, just sharing information. That's what it's all about, right? Just sharing knowledge. It's like it's like when something works for you, you just want to tell everyone. I mean, like, I'm not saying that, because it works for me, it's going to work for you, but you still, there's that initial excitement of like wanting to help people. And certainly if you have been through the trenches and you feel like you've been on this like lonely journey alone, it's nice to kind of hold hands with other people that might be in the same boat as you.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's certainly something that I find very comforting in 2017 versus in 2014 when I first got my medical documents.
Talking about getting to know people around you and stuff like that, I'm just on your website and I'm going through a link, the team. I see a fella on there I've had on the Pace Radio show.
Sorry, of which?
One of your members of your team. We've had him on the Pace Radio show, and that's Alec Rapensky.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've got we work with a lot of different people, but we have joined forces in a way where all the partners that we're together in Straight Print here, we are very passionate about this. We really want to put our passions towards something good, and we are very excited in terms of what we're doing, what we're creating, and we just feel like so much like we're just at the beginning of this. Like, we have so much that we want to be able to share, and we're sort of gathering information. We want to get as many users on the platform as we can so that we can, again, have this evidence, this medical evidence that we can then take to the medical community and say, listen, they often use a term, I don't know if you guys have heard this term, I think it was a doctor that mentioned it to me once, that, you become your own N of one, right? You're your own study. So nobody can tell you what works best for you. Like, you can go to a doctor and he can put you in all sorts of pills, but only you can tell how you feel.
You are your own pills. You are your own,
or whatever, right? Yeah. So you become your own best advocate. Yep. And that's exactly the point behind the app, is this: you're now taking charge of how you medicate. You're now taking charge. You're saying, hey, doctors or whoever, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure out what works for me, and I'm going to report back to you and share this information with you, but I'm going to figure it out, and this is one of the tools that's helping me do that. But essentially, there's so many moving parts that have to happen. We just want to give people the easiest way that they can start learning about how to take charge of their own medicating. And that is exactly, that's what our mission is. That's what we do. And it's just, it's a lot to take in.
And that's what they call strain print.
That's what we call it. Yeah. And listen, we're growing so fast. Like we're getting, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think we've tripled since.
Well, you're getting a lot of press, that's for sure.
We're, hopefully it's all good stuff. We're working round the clock to try and make this app that I personally constantly. I mean, I thought of this idea, like I said, it was about 3 years ago when I was walking with my dog, which I do when I medicate most of the time. And I'm constantly thinking of ways that we can improve our product and how we can help people even better. Like it's a never ending process. So we we are doing as many things as we can, covering as many bases as we can. And this is your journey. This is your Al, your Mary Jane, everybody's on their own thing. And if we can just come together once in a while and share that information, then we're all better off for it. Right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to change the subject, if you don't mind, for a minute, and then we're going to come back in a few minutes, and I'll let you do a little plug and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want to talk about what's happened this week with Chris Enns. Chris did a phenomenal job on CBC's joint venture 2 nights ago, I think it was. Would have been Wednesday night.
Yes. Yes, it was Wednesday.
I watched the whole thing before your show. Was it Wednesday or was it Tuesday, Al?
I'm thinking it was Wednesday.
I'm thinking it was Wednesday too. But anyways, I watched the whole thing, and I mean, I know Chris. I've known Chris and Jess for a long time, and he's probably one of the most detailed people when talking about cannabis that I've ever heard. He knows his shit. He knows his shit from trial and error and helping patients, not from school. Okay, so he's one of those patients helping patients. Both Jess and Chris have been. So after this phenomenal job on joint venture, Chris was arrested the next day, driving his car, making some deliveries to patients. He had quite a bit of cannabis on him, and extracts, and I believe some other things. But they were all earmarked for patients.
It was all cannabis related.
It was all cannabis related, and it was earmarked, most of it, for a cancer patient that he was going to help. That's why he was out driving around with it.
No, that's just that's too bad.
Yeah.
There was a post. There's been lots of articles about joint venture last night and reasonings behind why a certain somebody didn't show up. Okay. And
that was the Justice Minister.
The Justice Minister of Nova Scotia. Wasn't it? I believe it's
the province.
The province of Nova Scotia. Yeah. And I just want you to read. Chris has a post up here and with a quote from the article. It says, the minister said he would not... Oops, I covered it up. The minister said he has not and will not talk to those who are already selling pot through dispensaries. These who are selling cannabis now illegally... Those who are selling cannabis now illegally, it's illegal. I don't believe that I should have to engage in those discussions, he said. It's no different than my decision not to participate in the CBC panel this week. There was an individual on the panel with matters before the court. I believe it was inappropriate for the Justice Minister to be engaging in those discussions. I mean, that's he agreed to go on there with knowing that Chris was there, I'm assuming.
From what I had seen, when he found out Chris was going to be on there with him, he backed away.
He bucked. But that shows you how scared that province is of Chris Enns. Okay? Okay? Because that man sat there of his own volition and made some very, very good arguments, flat out.
Yeah, well, and he's before the courts and about to have his cases thrown out. They wanted to give him.
He just dropped some cases. They just dropped some charges on him.
Yeah, for like 2 raids, for 2 different years.
That's right. And now he's back on the same charges now that they just dropped.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He probably got charged with the same thing, and they were about to throw them out or stay them. And now he's being charged with the same thing again, or something very similar. I
believe they stayed some of the charges.
2014 and 2015 raids.
And now he's right back into the thick of it. This is going to be precedent setting. I think.
He refused the plea deal
Right.
because he wanted to take the court or take the thing right through as a constitutional challenge.
Chris Enns is what you would call a martyr for the cause. He is willing to take the hit for us, and he does a damn good job doing it.
And he's without lawyer representation.
He has no lawyers. Well, I think John helps him.
Yeah. He does. Well, he does. Kirk spoke in some of this last case.
That's right.
As well.
Yeah. So I mean, he has a lot of thump behind him as far as lawyerly people and legal minds. Okay. John Trammell, you can say what you want, but he's a brilliant man, and he does know things that can help people. We won't go any further with that, but
no.
It saddens me to see Chris perform so well on a major national TV show to be arrested for the same thing that he's talking about on the air the day before. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I think that it's
because the other people didn't back out of the panel.
Nobody else did. And there were some arguments, and Chris stood up and put his foot down and said, no, this is the way it is. Because this is the way it is. I mean, Chris is a patient. Jess is a patient. That's how they started. Al is a patient. I am a patient. Stephanie is a patient. You are not going to get any more data that is going to help you more than from a patient. Your doctor's certainly not going to be able to give you that, because your doctor is a practitioner and they practice what they've been taught. They usually don't go back to the younger doctors are going back to school and learning. There is a course that healthcare professionals can take in Canada that is offered by, I guess, the Physicians and Surgeons Board, but it's not mandatory. Okay, and I got that from a head nurse at a hospital. Okay.
Well, I know it's not being taught in the regular class.
It's not being taught, but now you've got major universities and colleges around the globe offering cannabis programming, which is great. It's great.
Yeah.
It is great. Yeah.
It is. It's got to start somewhere, and we're seeing the beginning of it all. And in probably 5 years' time, we won't even be thinking about it.
Well,
it'll just be something that's normal.
Al's been sitting around doing this. He's been a lot sicker than I have for many more years, but you've been doing this about as long as I have, about 10, 15 years now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have noticed is there's a lot of well-meaning people out there that are really trying to help people that are getting caught up in the greed and getting caught up in the law and getting caught up in their own lives, and it's affecting them, is what I'm getting at. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have PTSD, you said, Stephanie. I mean, that's something that affects you every moment of every day.
Every moment of every day. Thank you. That's exactly right. It does.
It's
really
invisible.
It's an issue.
It's completely invisible, like ADHD or bipolar or mood disorders.
Crohn's disease.
They're invisible diseases that are out there that the medical community is just learning about some of them. But they've known about all these other ones. And I want to tell you a quick story, and then we're going to do your shout-outs and stuff like that, okay?
Sure.
At 16, I'm 54 this year, okay? At 16 years of age.
I remember those days.
Yeah. At 16 years of age, after being diagnosed at 5 and being watched under glass at the Hinks Clinic for hyperactive children, okay? That was a case study. Up until I was 16, my doctor asked me, with my mom's permission, do you want to continue taking the Ritalin and the Dextrin? I was on very high doses. And I said, well, I don't know. He said, are you smoking pot? And he called it pot back then. I said, no, I'm not. My friends were. I was around it every day. My mom smoked when her friends came over, that kind of thing. He says, well, I'm going to tell you something. And I was 16, so this was how many years ago? I don't even want to do the math. Okay?
Almost 40.
Almost 40 years ago. He said, if you start smoking pot, stop taking the Ritalin and Dexedrine because it's going to do the same thing. I'm 54 years old. I am on disability for ADHD. It's that bad. And unless I have my cannabis, I'm on the couch. I can't cope. But when I have my cannabis, Dr. Rogers was right.
Yeah, sure was. And that's 40 years ago.
That was 40 years ago. Yeah. And the doctors today in 2017 are so fucking afraid to even say that. But we've got good doctors out there now that are on board, like Ira Price and Dr. Bob Malamud, they've both been on the show, and they are working directly with patients. People. Yeah. I don't even want to say patients. Yeah. People.
Okay? Humans.
Human beings. Human beings, not lab rats. Exactly. So there are people out there trying to help. My point is, please be weary of everybody until you know you can trust what that person's saying. Do your own research. That's the whole idea of Lifestyle Radio.
I know. When we were educating people at the shows in Toronto, the big trade shows and stuff, that's what we tell them is do the research. Look it up online.
Look it up.
Yeah, and we would hand out brochures with some research information in it or links where people could, give them an idea where to start.
Yeah.
Because, there's people who are looking for that information. And when they're looking for it, they're sponges.
It's also that a lot of people, this is still a stigma subject that is the number one subject in the world. Not Trump. Cannabis. It's the number one subject in the world. I guarantee it. Okay? And it's on everybody's mind, even if they don't use it, because some people are worried, some people don't like it. But for the most part, most people don't give a shit. It's your life. Go about and do whatever you want. I don't rag at my neighbor because he smokes 3 packs of fucking smokes a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Should.
I should, because that's going to kill him.
Al, with that in mind, really, it's the perfect way for me to wedge in here, because you're speaking exactly what we're trying to do here. We're trying to say take matters into your own hands. And seriously, guys, this is you want to find out what works best for you. That is a tool that we've created to help you do just that. And I don't mean to take away from your your rent. It's just really, no, but really that's exactly what I'm talking about. This is you're not going to get the support of every doctor you talk to. Believe me, you're not. I've
had friends who have been fired
from doctors themselves.
Yeah, I've got a few friends who have literally been fired from their doctor, one for bringing cannabis oil in to show him that this is what I'm taking, and you can see it's working by my chart, right? I mean, I walked into my doctor's office, and I've got a host of things going on, and at one time I was over 500 pounds, Stephanie, okay, and I'm down below 3 now, and my doctor looks at me and in Toronto, and he says, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "Because I haven't the faintest fucking idea how you're controlling everything," and I just smiled. He knows.
Yeah, listen, I mean, a lot of the doctors are reluctant to kind of come forward and sort of learn more. That's because, like you touched upon it earlier, it's not taught in medical school how to prescribe cannabinoid therapy. But
there are a lot that are.
Exactly. I've come across some incredible doctors and incredible people that are so dedicated to this cause, and they're so dedicated to the study and the advancement of this destigmatization of this plant.
Yep.
And that's what we're talking about.
And I'll tell you a funny story. Okay, it's not a funny story. When was it? October.
So you got 2 minutes.
I know. I cracked my head open. My dog knocked me off my feet, and I cracked my head open, and I'm in the ambulance, and I'm going to the hospital. From the minute I got in the ambulance and was kind of coherent, I talked about cannabis right through to the emergency room, to all the nurses, to all the doctors, cannabis, 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 cannabis. And you know what I find is most of the time it's because they're not engaged on the subject. But if you engage a medical practitioner on the subject, you're going to get a conversation out of it. You may not get the conversation you want, but you're going to get a conversation out of it. Or they're going to turn around and close the door on your face. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has an opinion, for
That's
sure.
right.
There's no doubt about it. If your doctor is in support of it, then you're one of the luckier patients. If your doctor is not, then maybe you want to check out another doctor that might help you. I mean, I don't like. It's just a matter of time before cannabis is going to be prescribed as a first-line therapy instead of a third line or a last resort. And that's one of the things that we're really intrigued by. I mean, like, this is people that are coming off of, benzos and opiates and all these very potent, powerful medications with horrible side effects and horrible withdrawal effects. If they're able to dose themselves with cannabis instead and come off of these other medicines, I mean, this is everything, right? This is everything, and this is even more fuel to the fire of you need to become your own best advocate, because the doctor may not be able to arm you with that knowledge or information. You got to go out there and get it on your own
and give it on your own. You have to also give it on your own. You have to take the information that your doctor needs to go, maybe you're onto something. You have to take that information in with you so that they can have it in front of it. I've sat there on the computer in my current doctor's office, and she's Googled stuff right in front of me and then looked at me and said, I don't know if I can do that. They're telling us we're not allowed to do that.
This is exactly what we're talking about, Alex. This is why we have... this is why about an hour ago I said go into the profile section, check out the export data. Every time you log a session,
take it to your doctor.
You don't have to take it. You literally just hit a button and it emails to them, and they get a nice, beautiful picture on their phone or wherever on their computer of your entire treatment regimen. This is exactly what we're talking about. It's showing your medical professional that you are infinitely better because they've allowed you the opportunity to try cannabis, and they're trusting you, that you're going to use it responsibly. And that you're taking it seriously, and you show your doctor that. I mean, come on, that's golden.
That's information. Yeah, that's educational information for the doctor for sure.
That's exactly it. And we've heard it time and time again. We have clinics that onboard their patients with our app currently. Across
I know
the
patients
country.
that used to take write down notes and take the notes into the doctors and say, "This is."
Well, I mean,
that's
always encouraged. Yeah, that's always encouraged. But let's take it even one step further. Notes is great. Notes is amazing. But if you can actually have a pictorial, an infographic of your treatment, and I encourage you guys to track for a few days and then export your data to yourself so you can look at it, because it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It shows you a lot more than you would think, because you know what? Your memory fails you, but the data doesn't. And that's the big difference.
If you can walk in and take data, any kind of data, into your doctor, my doctor's the kind of person that when I said, "What are your views on cannabis?" he said, "I have none, but I know that it helps with pain. And here's a form. Go down to the dispensary and see if it works for you." That's what my doctor did. Okay. Now that took 5 years. I had to give him 5 years of information on what I was doing.
And good for you that you kept at it, by the way.
And then I said, "So are you going to sign my papers?" And he was like, "You never brought them in." I'm like, "What are you fucking talking about, man? We've been talking about this for 5 fucking years."
Yeah. I mean, there's all different levels and stages of comfort when it comes to different physicians, and we know that's going to change. We know that over the next couple of years,
they're not. When you go into your doctor's office, they're not educating you. They're doing what they've been trained to do. You have to go in and educate your doctor. Now, on that note, I know that Al will have to get going in a few minutes because he's going to be locked in a store if he doesn't. I wanted to give you the opportunity, closing arguments. or statement, whatever you want to call it.
Let's hope not an argument. That would be horrible.
And please plug.
I don't want to argue.
Okay, well,
I'm on the same side as you guys.
Blow kisses. Blow kisses.
But yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. Once again, listen, it's a very heated discussion, no matter what capacity you're talking about cannabis in, whether it's for medical purposes or just because you want to have a nice relaxing weekend, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But we really can't stress enough the positive feedback that's pouring in, and that's what keeps me smiling. That's what keeps a smile on my face on these horrible, cold, wintry November days when it's like dark for 18 hours. And I sit there and I think, oh my God, I just got like this most beautiful email from this user that has poured out their guts on this, in this email, been saying that just by using the app over the last couple of weeks or months or whatever it is, they have learned so much and they feel so much better and so much more in charge. And they are medicating better, and they're not overusing it. They're using it more, spacing it out better so that they're getting better effects. And that, by the way, that's another thing our data is showing is that, and not specifically to microdosing, but people who are being more mindful with their dosing are getting better overall effects. So if you're overstimulating your body with THC, there is evidence now, and our data is going to support this, to show that it is causing adverse effects.
Yeah, in some cases,
it's causing anxiety. It's causing all kinds of trippy things happening. And we listen. I mean, as this thing is about to become legal, by the summer, there's so many opportunities for people to misuse this plant. And we really, this is everything now, to collect this data and to be able to share this on a large scale is why we created Strainprint. It's why we keep plugging away at this, and it's not a glamorous thing. Believe me, it sounds like it's all slick. It's an app. It's grunt work. It's hard. There's a lot of people that need to be, talked to and supported, and we just want the opportunity to spread the good word, to say, listen, we're on your side here. We're not a big corporate, entity, Google or whatever, that's trying to steal your information and sell it to some private conglomerate. No, this is you. This is your life. Take it into your own hands, and we'll, as a large collective group of individuals, we can all be our own N of ones that I referred to earlier, so we can get information from the masses, take that information and be able to share it back, and we can learn from each other. And this is exactly what we want to do. We want to get everyone. That's why the app is free. That's why we are giving people gifts. My God, I send out, do you know how many packages I send out a week of vapes and grinders and all that stuff, which we're thrilled to do because it means people are using the app. So I'm happy to do that. And that's what we want. That's the message we want to get across. That's why you're seeing, press release. There's going to be a press release coming out next week of some other news that we're going to be able to announce, which is super exciting. But I don't want to tip it off just yet. But all that to say, we're trying to build this thing as big as possible because we have a big responsibility, we feel, and that is to educate, inform, share, help people learn how to use cannabis better.
Awesome. Where can you find the app?
So once again, you can get it for free on the App Store if you have an Apple device, or Google Play if you're on an Android platform. It's free to download. It takes about 2 minutes to set up. So really, that's just putting in your basic information as we were doing at the beginning of the call.
We've been doing that through the whole store,
as you go, like I said, it's a little bit of a learning process. You got to figure it out a little bit. It's not like you're going to just bing. It's a little, but you can always email support. You can always email me personally. I don't care. We're founder of the company. I want to talk to whoever wants to have a question. I'm here. So we want to help people, and we want to get as many on board as we can and start spreading the word about how we can help each other.
Wow.
Does that help you? I mean,
it does. Yeah, I was just wowing because
I know it's a lot. And there's so many different components to the app that we didn't even get to talk about. There's so many little goodies in there and things that is capable of doing now, and you can check out your snapshot section as you go. The more information you put into the app, the more you're going to get out of it. That's essentially it. Stay tuned for over the next couple of months a very good web version as well, a web companion.
Well, when you get that going, please come back and say hi.
We would love to. I would love to. I would just want to say thanks again for having this forum of discussion, for having me on and letting me talk about what we're doing. And you guys are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Al,
I did find that export button.
I just found it as well.
Awesome, great.
And I just found the snapshots, but I don't have any snapshots.
You have to fill some of that in. It's like kind of like a coloring book. You got to kind of keep filling in all the different components, and then as you go, you're going to start seeing it populate with some interesting stuff.
There are
it's all there. And if you have any questions off the air, whatever, I'm Steph@strainprint.ca. Don't hesitate to contact me at any time.
Awesome. There's a lot of apps. I can see a use for this. I can, even for myself. Just one bit of criticism, though. I would be much happier if I saw later down the road a lot more real people information about strains as opposed to just LPs. That's what
it's good. Like I said, that is all a matter of who we have on the platform. So it's all user dependent. If we get on users that are they're making their own strain concoctions or whatever, it's just a facet of who's using the system right now, and that's going to just incrementally grow over time.
Well, we'll be watching. Did you have any other questions, Al, that you wanted to ask? Anything you want to say?
No, I'm just looking through here, seeing you can do edibles, smoke, vape, dab, portables, tinctures, skin creams, lotions.
Wow, man.
Soon to come, suppositories as well is another format that we're excited about being able to introduce shortly. But yeah, it's evolving at lightning speed, guys. Like, that's what I'm trying to say, is that what it is today isn't what it's going to look like in 3 or 6 months. It keeps getting better based on users' needs and feedback, and trying to create a product that's going to help as many people as possible.
Yeah, and this could come in really handy for some patients, especially the new people who are first getting involved in all this.
Which is a very, very large portion of our users are very new to cannabis, and that's what we have to keep remembering.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why I've been doing this for 10 years is because I am sick and tired of. I'm a firm believer that if you give somebody all of the information, okay, they're going to be able to make a decision on their own, as opposed to giving them only this side of the information. Do you know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
Apps like this will help, and I'm going to continue to keep looking at it as I go along.
Thank you. And once again, any questions, never hesitate to contact me. I'm always here for you guys.
Well, all right, super. Appreciate you being here. Mary Jane, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No. I think you guys got it all.
Cool. Look for Mary Jane in the Sunshine Girls section of last week's paper.
I will. That sounds exciting.
Sunday.
I said Sunday, didn't I? I said last week's Sunday paper. Didn't I?
Okay.
We'll have to listen,
probably.
We'll listen to the recording later, Al. All right, folks. I don't know who we got on next week. I don't know who Al's got on this week, but we'll see you.
I see you.
You don't know either,
guys.
do you, Al?
Stay warm.
Yeah. Like, this is the coldest day since last winter.
This is it took
that's
me.
Not good. I'm gonna have to throw on my strain print toque and head out for a little puff.
It took me 45 minutes to clean off my car this morning. There was a foot of snow on the damn thing. This is the 420 Radio Show. We're live here every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or domestic time, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for being here, Al. Thank you as well to Mary Jane and our guest, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Strain Print have a look at it, make your own decision.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Night, guys.
Night.
Like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is how much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiba grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Trying to get on this lifestyle